10 easy ways to handle an emergency situation. At one point or another, most of us have been taught what to do in an emergency situation. But it's not that easy to remember these things when we really find ourselves in extreme circumstances. That's why it's so important to revisit this information as often as possible. Remember, knowing what to do when faced with a threat can mean the difference between life and death. How to survive if you're caught in a strong current. You might think that swimming in a river or lake is safer than taking a dip in the sea, but that's not exactly true. Fresh water is often colder and takes more energy and skill to get out of because it doesn't support your body like salt water does. And you shouldn't forget about river currents either. They're no less dangerous than the ones in the sea. If you find yourself caught in a river current, don't panic and don't flail your limbs. This can easily pull you underwater. Breathe deeply because the air you inhale will help you float better. Don't try to swim across the current or upstream. Choose a diagonal line that will eventually bring you to the shore. The best option is at a 45-degree angle. If the waters are really rapid, turn on your back and make sure that your feet point downstream. This way, your head is protected. If you encounter any debris or rocks, you won't get a concussion. As soon as the current loses some of its strength, swim to the shore. As for getting caught in a sea current, the first rule is the same. Stay calm, don't panic, and don't flail around. And don't even try to fight the current. It'll come out the undefeated champion. Simply cut across the current diagonally because it doesn't typically expand along the whole shoreline. As soon as you feel you've broken free from its grips, swim back to the shore. What to do in case of a fire. If you're with your close ones when a fire starts, agree on a meeting place outside in case you get separated. When smoke starts filling the room, don't walk. Smoke initially goes up towards the ceiling, and only after that does it go down. It's imperative to keep the stuff from getting in your lungs since smoke contains toxic gases that can kill a person in 20 minutes if they don't get help. That's why the best strategy is to stay low and crawl to the nearest exit as soon as possible. And don't even think about going through a window or waiting it out. You should never open a window in a burning building. And definitely don't try to hide inside. If you're dealing with an electrical fire, never use water to extinguish it. How to save yourself if you're choking. There are different ways you can save yourself if you're choking and there's nobody around to help you. Method 1. Make a fist and place it below your ribcage and above your belly button. Cup it with your other hand and quickly thrust it into your abdomen up towards your diaphragm. Method 2. Lean over a chair and press your abdomen against the back of it. Method 3. Get on the floor as if you're about to do push-ups. Take a short breath in, lift your head, and allow your chest to hit the floor. Remember, don't speak, don't drink anything, and don't inhale deeply. What to do if you're bleeding. Nosebleeds. You've probably heard if you have blood coming out of your nose, you should tilt your head back or lie down and wait until the bleeding stops. This is a dangerous misconception because blood can get into your throat. If you're dealing with a nosebleed, lean your head forward and block your nostrils with your thumb and index finger. Keep holding it for about 10 minutes and then let it go. Minor bleeding. If you've accidentally nicked yourself in the kitchen or wherever, first clean the cut with cold running water. After that, use hydrogen peroxide to prevent infection. Then, apply a sterile bandage. Venous bleeding. If the bleeding is a bit heavier, first use hydrogen peroxide, then apply a firm bandage. It's extremely important to keep the injury elevated. Arterial bleeding. If the bleeding is more severe, start by applying a firm bandage. Keep applying pressure to the wound even after the bandage is in place. Bend the injured leg or arm and place direct pressure on the artery. Most crucial of all, call for emergency medical assistance as soon as possible. Severe bleeding. In the case of the most severe bleeding, place a sterile bandage on the wound. Press it firmly with your palm and immediately call EMS. Remember, use a tourniquet only as a last resort if the bleeding doesn't stop. If you do, note what time you applied the tourniquet and don't leave it on for any longer than 1 hour in the summer and 30 minutes in the winter. Otherwise, the tissues will start to die. If you're dehydrated. If you experience extreme thirst, feel exhausted, dizzy, and confused, you might be suffering from dehydration. If this is the case, your body desperately needs more liquid to restore balance. The perfect solution is 4 cups of water mixed with 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a half teaspoon of baking soda. Another option is a glass of orange juice with half a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Dilute this mixture with 4 cups of water and drink it. In case of hypothermia. If someone is suffering from hypothermia, cover the victim with warm blankets. Make sure that not only the body but also the head and feet are covered. Don't rub the victim's arms or legs. It can damage the skin. Never put them in a tub of hot water, and don't give them alcohol to drink. If you get lost in the woods. In this case, you can use your wristwatch to find your direction. Hold an analog watch horizontally in your hand and imagine a wedge-shaped piece making the area between the hour hand and the number 1. The center of this angle is the north-south line. Don't use tree branches, moss growth, and anthills to figure out your direction. They're not as reliable as you think. Before heading into the forest, pick out objects on the map as markers. It can be power lines, roads, railways, or whatever, and determine the direction of movement towards them. How to find water in the wild. There are several methods you can use to get water in the wild. Method 1. Use a string to tie a plastic bag to the end of a tree branch. This will create a little greenhouse and will fill with condensation. Method 2. Dig a pit in the ground, put a plastic sheet over it, and place an empty container inside to collect water. Put a small stone in the middle of the construction to make condensing water drip right into the container. Remember though, you must boil this water before drinking it. Treating minor burns. For any type of burn, immediately remove any jewelry or tight clothing before the swelling starts. Later, it may become impossible. If the burn is thermal, hold it under cold running water for about 10 to 15 minutes. Then, cover the burn with a sterile bandage or a clean cloth. If the burn has been caused by acid, keep it under cold running water as well. Then, use a neutralizing solution made of soap or baking soda and water. After that, loosely apply a sterile bandage or a clean cloth. To treat an alkaline burn, you first need to remove the remnants of the substance. Again, hold the burn under cold running water for 10 to 15 minutes and use the neutralizing solution of soap or baking soda and water. Only after that can you apply a sterile bandage or a clean cloth. For any type of burn, never use oil, cotton pads, ice, or iodine. And if you got burned with a quicklime or aluminum, you mustn't place the burn underwater. In this case, call for help immediately. Have you ever been in one of these situations? Let us know how you handled it in the comments below. Share this extremely important video with your friends and relatives and hit that like button for this useful information. Subscribe to our channel. You'll always find something new and interesting on the bright side of life.